See, I noted in the presentations there's nearly full agreement that this should be fundamentally a community-based service in the first place, that the vast majority of abortions are likely to be medical, that it'll be the abortion pill that will administer to over 70%. And therefore it does make sense that it's community-based. But if you take my community, there's a very modern, very nice health centre in Ballyfermot with several GP practices, but it's so difficult to get an appointment. It's a busy, busy area. The last time I looked at an appointment, I was waiting for over a week to get to see a doctor, and I didn't mind which doctor. That's kind of typical, and so therefore I think we do have a real, genuine problem in terms of what GPs can provide and the whole business about the waiting time, which I'm very pleased to note that you all agree removes the power from the woman, is demeaning and can be an obstruction to receiving an abortion. So that's a real problem to have that timing in there. And even if it was from the day you pick up the phone, it could be still 5 or 7 days before you get the appointment. So I just want to reiterate that that's a big part of it, but it's linked with the question I have for you about the definition of medical practitioner. And if anybody else has asked this again, I apologise for repeating it, where the World Health Organization's safe guidelines say that a medical practitioner is defined as properly trained healthcare provider, including mid-level non-physician providers. And so would you see that there should be a role here, and an important role, for midwives, for practicing nurses, and for indeed the counsellors who are in the service to help to provide the service? Because if we are to rely, to go forward now, say from January or whenever we can get this service in, probably sooner if possible, if we are to rely totally on GPs, combining the crisis of the accessibility of GPs as it is, would it not make more sense for the Medical Council and everybody to recognise that nurses and midwives, etc., who are based in clinics can also provide the service, at least the service up to the point of providing the pill? And then if you, to take in my second question on conscientious objection, if you were to combine the crisis in GP availability with those of some of those who may conscientious object, that adds an extra burden onto the provision of the service. So I think there's a real important role here for us to be very clear in the legislation on the question of conscientious objection, and that there must be an imperative on the doctors to refer onwards if they themselves are not prepared to, if they're going to deny a woman the abortion service. There has to be that imperative, but it also has to be policed. We have to know how and why and how conscientious objection is being applied and how it's being watched over, to guarantee that in fact abortion is being provided. So I think that I'd like you to comment on that. And lastly, a question for the committee itself. I note there's been quite a bit of discussion here on decriminalisation. Maybe Dr. Carty could answer if the committee intends to look at that, or if it's appropriate to send it on to the Justice Committee. But it would seem to me that if there's going to be a 14-year sentence as a chill factor over medical practitioners, that this is unduly unnecessary, heavy-handed, and should be removed, and somewhere this should be looked at in more detail by either this committee or the Justice Committee. But maybe you could explain how that can be done.